Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis, Amari's Revenge. The goddess next door is confronted by a Nubian queen out for revenge at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in this inaugural Isis series adventure. Get your copy of Isis, Amari's Revenge in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. An elderly white man took the life of a black female Uber driver who he thought was looking to scam him.
We're going to turn now to the tragic story. This one out of Ohio. Deadly encounter between two people who did not know each other and were both victims of phone scammers. Victim one, 81-year-old William Brock, received threatening calls last month saying his family was in danger and demanding money. And then the scammers also called an Uber driver, Lolitha Hall, to pick up a package from Brock's home. Brock then confronted her with a gun, believing that she was connected to the threats he'd been receiving, and now he is charged with Hall's murder. Lilia Luciano has this story, and we have to warn you, the video is disturbing.
Lolitha Hall screamed for help as William Brock confronted her with a gun.
Yes, I know what you're after.
But as the Uber driver tried to flee, police say the 81-year-old resident shot her multiple times. And then he called 911.
Well, I shot her in the leg first time, and I shot her in the shoulder.
Why did you do that?
Because I was threatened that she was going to come and kill me.
The county sheriff's office says Brock was the subject of a scam call concerning an incarcerated relative, which turned to threats and a demand for money. Police say Hall, the driver, was also contacted either by the same scammer or an accomplice to pick up a package from Brock's residence through the Uber app.
The guy on the phone center here.
Okay. So the male on the phone was trying to get money from you, and she was knocking on the door at the same time?
Yes, and he was telling me he was going to kill me and the family and everybody else around.
Hall, who was 61, died from her injuries in the hospital. Police say she made no threats or assaults towards Brock before the shooting, other than to ask about the package she was sent to retrieve. They also say Brock took her cell phone and refused to let her leave. Last week, Brock was charged with felony murder, and now he could face 15 years to life behind bars, plus a $15,000 fine. He has pleaded not guilty.
What does the prosecution need to prove in this case?
That Brock knew he was using deadly force, and what the prosecution is going to say is there is just no reason to shoot 3 times when somebody is trying to leave your property. If somebody is trying to flee, almost by definition, they are no longer posing a threat.
Uber says it has banned the account of the person who ordered Hall's trip and has been in touch with both her family and Clark County law enforcement. It's hard to know if the alleged scammers will be held liable for Hall's death. Is something that I asked Jessica Levinson. She says it's not clear that they could have predicted that the ruse would lead to this horribly deadly, tragic outcome.
That video, every time I see that video, I saw it yesterday, it's heartbreaking. You can see the fear on her face.
And hear it.
She has bad information. He has bad information. He's amped up and scared. She doesn't know what the hell is happening. The guy comes out with a gun. It's so heartbreaking.
Tragic, and we'll just see how the prosecution and how the defense, what they can claim, whether they can use the castle doctrine because it was outside of the house.
Scammers are definitely liable in my mind.
Tony.
I mean, they're the ones that put those two people in that situation. Lily, thank you very much.
Now, according to reports, 81-year-old William Brock had been receiving phone calls from scammers claiming that he had a relative in jail. And the scammers continued to go back and forth with William Brock, demanding money to bail out this relative. And as they made these demands for William Brock to give them money to bail out this relative, they dispatched a Uber with 61-year-old Lolitha Hall as the driver to go pick up the package from William Brock's home. Now, as Lolitha Hall came to the home of William Brock came out of his home with a loaded firearm to confront Lolitha Hall and allegedly wound up shooting and killing Lolitha Hall, shooting her multiple times after he had received the scam phone calls and then went to call the police to say that he shot Lolitha Hall. Now, the Ohio police in South Charleston see this as an isolated incident, but when I take a critical examination of the alleged actions of William Brock, they not only fit the pattern and profile for beta males that I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis, they also fit a pattern of murder as related to elderly white men, with the shooting of Ralph Yarl when Andrew Daniel Lester, an 84-year-old white man, shot 16-year-old Ralph Yarl for allegedly coming up to the door of his home to pick up his twin brothers. And when I look at both of these cases, they show me a pattern of behavior with elderly white beta males who act on their impulses without critically thinking about their actions. Because like Andrew Daniel Lester, this man, William Brock, was acting impulsively with malice of forethought as related to this black person, and acting impulsively with malice of forethought because all he saw, as I see it, was a black person who he wanted to go out here and take the life of, because after hearing all of these scams that he had been told about, he was seething in anger. And as he was seething in anger about going back and forth with these scammers, what happened, I believe, with William Brock is that he was planning to get revenge on these scammers by making them pay. And that was shown by his actions when he decided to come out of his home to confront Lolitha Hall. Because with William Brock, if he felt like he was in any sort of danger, he could have easily stayed inside of his home and contacted the police and let them know that these scammers were looking to come to his home to harass him, and law enforcement would have dealt with this whole situation without this woman having to wind up losing her life. That's what could have happened if William Brock had been a critical thinker. And had William Brock been a critical thinker, he would have gotten that phone call talking about this relative being in jail, and then he would have called the Department of Corrections. And after he called the Department of Corrections to find out if this relative was in their system, that would have been all the information he needed to know to find out if this relative was possibly in the correctional system. Moreover, he could have easily even gone to the police precinct to find out if this individual had been in jail. Again, these are two of the solutions this man could have been doing had he been critically thinking. But when it comes to scammers, they look for beta males to take advantage of because they know that the beta male does not really do any thinking. No, they react on their feelings. And as they get older with beta males, they become more impulsive, never really thinking critically to say, hey, I got this phone call saying that this person has a relative in jail. Let me go call up Department of Corrections. Let me go contact my police. And let me also go contact a bail bondsman, people who would know if a person is in the criminal justice system. That's what the person would do if they find this out, because that's what anybody would do if they're critically thinking. Moreover, a person would possibly receive that one phone call a person has a right to under Miranda to let them know that a person is in jail. Again, these would be these sources for a person if there's a legit person in jail. But the whole thing is William Brock basically got caught up in his emotions. And as he got caught up in his emotions, he wound up simmering and boiling in anger about these harassing phone calls. And what he wanted to do was take out his rage on the person as related to this whole situation with these scammers. And as he looked to take out that rage, that's how he went from dealing with harassing phone calls to winding up becoming a person who was going to be a defendant as related to a criminal case, because his actions do constitute a crime based on the facts presented. Because based on the facts that are presented, this is a clear case, as I see it, of murder. Because when it comes to William Brock, he clearly showed malice of forethought because he was upset about getting these phone calls. And as he was upset about getting these phone calls, he wasn't navigating through his emotions where he had the feelings about the anger about getting these annoying phone calls. And he acted in a way with malice of forethought, looking to do harm to whoever was on the other side of that door. Because he had options to deal with this person looking to do this so-called pickup. He could, one, not answer the door. That could be one thing he could have done. Two, he could have easily called 911 before the person got there and let them know there's a person who says that they're coming to my home to pick up a package that has been harassing me. And three, he could have easily just gone and blocked this phone number. These were the options that William Brock had, and even though he was elderly, he did have those options, and he could have used those options, but instead of using those options, he got caught up in his feelings, and as he got caught up in his feelings, he decided to act impulsively and look to confront this Uber driver, looking to think he was going to get revenge on these scammers, and that's where William Brock's behavior becomes murder. Because he did not have to act on those feelings. No, again, there were options for William Brock, such as one, going and calling up his phone company to block this number by saying, hey, this number is a harassing me. Two, he could have, again, gone and made that call to corrections and easily got the information as related to whatever relative was in jail. Or three, he could have had a bail bondsman go find out this information, and there he would have found out that these were scammers, and he didn't have to go and, again, even leave his home to ever confront Lolitha Hall. But because this white man was angry and felt that he had the right to go out here and do harm to whoever, he waited in his home and wanted to try to use things like a castle doctrine or saying that this person was trespassing. But the whole thing is, even if this person does come to your door, again, you have nonviolent responses you can use to get this person to go away. And this is all things he could have done to keep this situation from spiraling out of control. Now, when it comes to these scammers, I believe these individuals also need to be held accountable. They need to be charged with murder as well, because they were the ones who instigated this whole situation. Now, some people in the legal field say that these guys aren't responsible, but I hold them culpable myself as related to the way I see it as related to the law, because had they not been contacting this individual would not have been motivated to participate in this violent crime, because what these scammers were doing were looking to instigate an incident, hoping to make some quick cash. But when it comes to the beta male, you may not get any money because these men are not critical thinkers. They're very impulsive. And when things escalate, they get spirals out of control. And in the case of this beta male, basically what he did was start reacting emotionally. And as he reacted emotionally, he basically escalated a situation that could have easily been solved into a murder of Lolitha Hall. And again, all because when you're dealing with beta males, again, feel and don't think. And when they act on their impulses, they wind up putting people's lives in jeopardy. And that's one of the dangers of running games on beta males that makes them extremely dangerous. And these scammers, again, they thought, oh, we're going to run this game. But the whole thing, it's always game over if you deal with a beta male. And it's going to be game over for William Brock if he is convicted of this crime. He is going to be spending the last of his golden years not in his home waiting for himself to pass to the next side. No, if he is convicted for the murder he committed of Lolitha Hall, he's going to wind up in that penitentiary with Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles, and they are basically going to turn the worn-out tight end into a wide receiver that you can basically punt a football through. And they're going to be trading him Again, for the Little Debbie snack cakes, ramen noodles, packets of Crystal Light lemonade, packets of Crystal Light tea, Taster's Choice coffee, off-brand Oreo cookies, off-brand lemon cookies, off-brand grape drink, off-brand lemon lime drink, off-brand orange drink, Fritos chips, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle pie, Snyder's pretzels, Hunt snack pack puddings, packets of corn pops and Fruit Loops, sriracha sauce. I mean, he's going to be getting the full treatment inside of the penitentiary as he's spit, roasted, and barbecued and glazed by Mr. Sprinkles, who will then split the old wrinkled cheeks open like and then show us the backside looking like a glazed jelly donut. I mean, that's the fate that may happen to this man in his last years, because he acted impulsively, but this acting impulsively is part of a pattern that happened with the case of the shooting of Ralph Yarl with Andrew David Lester, showing that even in old age, a beta male is going to be a beta male, and a beta male will turn any situation from a simple situation to a situation where a person's life is in jeopardy because they don't know that they're dealing with a man in crisis. Because when you deal with a man in crisis, they can turn your life into a crisis once their emotions get involved, because the way these men were raised is to feel and react. And when they feel and react, they can basically put a person's life in jeopardy. And that's what can happen in these situations. And this is why when you deal with beta males, again, you have to handle them very carefully. And again, handle them very carefully, because these males, again, they are a clear and present danger to every man and woman. And one altercation with them can turn you from being a person who has their life to winding up in a situation where you may wind up losing yours, because these males really don't think about more important intangibles like even their own health, safety, or even their freedom. And that's what makes these males very dangerous to deal with, because when it comes to these males, again, they can turn you from a man or a woman to winding up in a situation where you can wind up becoming a man or woman in crisis due to their very extreme and impulsive reactions. Now, if you want to learn more about what leads to beta males being motivated to participate in violence, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Man Crisis at other online booksellers like Draft Digital, Smashwords, the iBookstore, Google Play, and other online retailers like Barnes & Noble, Walmart, and Target. And if you'd like to see me make more videos about the Man Crisis, you can send a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes' Illuminati, the man who rules the world, takes on the head of the global elite in this all-new action-packed John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' Illuminati in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy of The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.